Hey guys, Edgar Ortega here, Handsome Blind Guy. Today I'm going to talk about a skill that you can develop to absolutely banish anxiety from your life. This is something that you can incorporate into your personality to relieve anxiety that you're feeling, worrying about the future, or whatever it is that gives you anxiety. This is something that has been true for many years. Many people have figured this out, and it's something that you can incorporate into your personality and begin starting today to reduce or completely annihilate the anxiety in your life. Now, this thing that we're going to focus on is, in fact, the word focus, right? If there's one word that summarizes this skill, it's focus. Because what we focus upon will determine how much anxiety we have in our lives. If we are people that focus on all of the problems that are in our lives, then we're going to be focused on those problems. What do problems do? They give us anxiety, right? We worry about the future. We worry about those problems, right? If we become people that see the problem but focus on a solution, then we begin to start to solve the problem. And if there's nothing we can do at the time, we can brush that aside and think about things that we're grateful for, or at least view things in a constructive way. It's incredibly important that we monitor the things, the thoughts that come into our head, because it is those thoughts that lead to our emotions, as I've said many times before, and determine how we feel. So if we guard our thoughts, if we're thinking of good things, if we frame everything in a constructive, positive way, we're going to reduce the amount of anxiety we have in our lives. Now, this wisdom has been around for many, many centuries, as I've said. In fact, one of the most influential books in human history has been the Bible, and in the New Testament, in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8, I'll summarize. Paul says what we should focus on, what we should meditate on, what we should focus on in our thoughts. It says that we should focus on truth, things that are true, things that are noble, things that are commendable, things that are beautiful, things that are good, right? And then it is through these thoughts that we will have peace. The New Testament says that if you think of these things, if you think in this way, if you meditate on these things, things that are true, things that are good, things that are beautiful, lovely, etc., then the God of peace will be with us. Those are the words that are used there. So if we want peace, if we have peace, we don't have anxiety. And so if you want peace, think of good things. View everything in a positive way, or in a way that's at least constructive. Right? If we're constantly thinking negative things, that person doesn't like me, or I'm no good at this certain thing, or I'm a bad person, whatever it is you want to think, right? If it's a negative thought, right, that's not necessarily true. You're just going to build on those negative thoughts, right? It's not helpful. It's not constructive. You're not going to have peace. Right? And it's not just, this truth isn't limited to just the Bible, the New Testament, right? The same truth is found in Buddhism, right? The Eightfold Path, the very first one is right thinking, right? Right view, viewing the world in the right way, thinking the right things, having the right mindset about everything in your life, right? Focus on what is good. Focus on what is true, and the anxiety in your life will melt away, will be banished away, right? It becomes a new habit. Now, many of us have old habits of thinking negatively, of automatically going there, right? Of reacting to situations, of reacting to thoughts that we have. And it takes a certain amount of time to build the skill to notice how we're feeling, what we're thinking, how we're about to react, stop ourselves, and then switch that sort of thinking, taking a different path than we're used to. In our brains, we have well-worn paths of bad habits that we take because it's the easiest route. Our brains take the path of least resistance, and those well-worn paths are the easiest ones to go to. They're the ones that we know, right? But they're not constructive for us, right? They don't lead to a constructive manifestation process, right? Our thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to action. And those actions can be constructive or destructive. They can make us better or make us worse, right? Or they could keep us where we are, which you can still consider as not great. We want to be on that constructive manifestation process, always ascending, always making ourselves better, and it takes effort. It can be a struggle. Now, don't just watch this video and know that, yes, I need to think more positively, or yes, I need to think about good things. I need to focus on the solutions. Yeah, that's great. And then go about your day as usual. If you want to change yourself, you can't go doing the same things. It's not going to work. You have to change the actions that you take. You can't keep doing the same things and expecting different results. And so it's going to take an effort. It's going to be like developing any new skill. If you want to play an instrument, a guitar, to learn a language, you're going to have to start out struggling, right? You're going to have to cut a new path in your brain for it to take, for your mind to take, right? That well-worn path, the wrong way of thinking, right? Thinking negatively, right? Reactive to thoughts and situations, right? That's always there. It's easy. But it's like taking a machete and cutting through the jungle, a new path, right? It's going to be difficult at first. You got to clear all the vines. You got to move all the logs and the rocks out of the way. That's going to take some effort. It's going to be tiring at times. It's going to be a chore. The first time you go through, it's going to be the hardest, the first few times. But then as that path clears, you start to walk that path. You kick all the little pebbles off the path, right? Get all the last of the vines that are hanging over the path and get rid of them. And then the path becomes easier. It's like if you practice something for any length of time, your brain is going to rewire itself. It's going to adjust to the new things that you're learning. And so in order to develop this new habit, this new way of thinking, of focusing on what is good, of your focus, different things to focus on instead of the problems, right, in our lives, it's going to take effort to think of the good things, right? And then you become this person that can brush aside all these unimportant negative things that are unconstructive and focus on the positive things. Whereas before, you're just you had blinders on to all the good things that are just passing you by, and you don't notice them because you're not focused on them. So now, instead of being focused on the problems and missing all the good things in your life, you can notice the problems, think of solutions, right? Being constructive, and focus on the good things in your life. And I promise you'll be a lot happier. You'll be a lot less anxious. You'll have a lot less anxiety. You'll have a lot less stress simply by shifting your focus. Whatsoever is true, whatsoever is good, whatsoever is noble, commendable, lovely, these are the things we should think about. It's in the New Testament. We said in Buddhism, the Eightfold Path, the very first one, right thought, right? Right view. Having the right perspective, the right frame that we view the entire world. And until we recreate ourselves to be this new person that thinks differently, until we make a conscious effort to struggle through the difficult drills of thinking in a new way, until we do that, it's going to be a little bit of struggle. But once we practice it, once we develop the skill, you'll see your anxiety melt away. And it becomes easier and easier. And then a problem will happen, a situation will happen, and you'll see yourself noticing it, and you go, oh, okay, do what I can. If there's nothing I can do, no sense in worrying about it. And you focus on the good things, right? You increase those. That's how that works. It's a great skill to develop. Now, that same passage in Philippians, in 4, verse 8 and 9, I think, it said we should focus on truth. Our society today is not focused on truth. In fact, you may wonder, why are so many cities throughout the country adopting these strange policies that don't seem logical? They don't seem reasonable. They don't seem based on any reason or logic. They just seem based on feeling, emotions, right? They don't make any sense, right? And then we wonder why our cities are falling apart, why there's such a rise in poverty and homelessness, right? In addition to the political and economic problems in our country today, this is something you might notice. So you might wonder, why is everybody being so illogical? I don't understand it. It seems like I'm taking crazy pills, right? Why does this seem crazy to me and nobody else, right? Well, you see, there's this movement of thought that has crept into our education system and into society. And what it values is not truth. This is what's called postmodern thinking, postmodernism, right? Whereas before we valued truth, we understood that there were things that are true, right? That passage in Philippians says we should meditate on truth. Society has gone away from that sort of thinking. As a result, anxiety is rising, right? People are less able to deal with their thoughts. They react to their thoughts. They're offended, and immediately they react. And they present solutions that don't seem reasonable or logical. They begin to be adopted, and chaos ensues. And that's what we're seeing. Now, many of you have heard of postmodernism. You may have heard the term, but you don't understand it necessarily. In summary, whereas before we understood that there are objective truths, we can observe the world, come to conclusions, and understand that they're true. Postmodernism rejects that. There is no objective truth in postmodernist thinking. There is only subjective feeling, individual perspective, right? There is no objective overall truth, they say, right? They abandon the use of logic and reasoning because they say that language is not a good means of communicating any sort of knowledge, any sort of truth, right? There's a lot of political stuff behind that, but that's the essence of it. See, several decades ago, it became clear that the evidence was stacked against socialism, something that we'd seen fail over and over again in history. And so those who still subscribe to that way of thinking, that sort of Marxist thinking, they decided, well, the intellectuals at the time, they decided, well, let's redefine what evidence is, what truth is, what shows us that what truth is evidence, right? And so they redefined it. And since all evidence is kind of presented through language, there's this whole deconstruction process of language, so made it unreliable. And so they got rid of reason. They got rid of logic. They got rid of the idea that there's any sort of universal truths out there, right? And so everything became subjective. And that sort of policy is affecting us today. Cities around the country are adopting policies that seem illogical, and they are. And then you can see the results of it. Postmodernism offers nothing constructive. It is not part of the constructive manifestation process. It will not bring us anything good to focus on. In fact, it only creates chaos, disorder. These are not the things we are to focus on. Society, however, like postmodernism, abandons truth. It says there is no truth. And yet, that passage in Philippians 4:8 and 9 tells us that one of the things we should focus on is truth. And this message that you're hearing right now is truth. What you focus on will determine how you feel. And it doesn't matter what's going on in society. If society has gone crazy, right, in this country, some of us wonder what's going on. You still have the power to focus on the good. And the more you focus on the good, the more you can increase the good. I live in a town called Stockton, California. It has a bad reputation. In fact, if you go on social media and you do hashtag Stockton, you're going to get all sorts of junk on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is you use, right? So I encourage you, if you live in a town like Stockton or Chicago, another city with a bad reputation, and perhaps has a lot of people that have lost hope, right? They don't see the good. And all the stuff they post is, unconstructive. It's not helpful. It's not good. It's not virtuous. It's not noble. It's not beautiful. It's not lovely. These things we're told to focus on, right? It's not the right view. It's not the right way of thinking. So if you're in one of those places, or whatever town you might be in throughout the United States, if you see good, document that. Instead of posting fights or crime that's happening around you, Focus on the good things that are happening around you. Go do things that are positive in your community. Document them. If you post to social media, use the hashtags of your city, right? If you're in Stockton, Chicago, and you're seeing good things happen, then post it on social media. If you have a positive message to give to the people of Stockton or Chicago or any of the cities that you're in, whatever it is, then do hashtag of that city, right? And then when people start doing hashtags of the towns, you start seeing positive things, right? Focus on positive things. Those things in your heart are the things that are going to come out of your mouth. The things in your heart are the things that are going to determine how you feel. Your thoughts determine your feelings, right? So learn to have a guard on your mind. Learn, be observant of what you think and of what you let into your mind, of what do you let influence you with every thought that comes into your head. If you approve of the thought, let it in. If not, then banish it, right? And as you start to begin making a habit of banishing wrong thinking, focusing on the negative, right? Reacting to situations and your thoughts, right? Become more objective. Understand that there is truth and that you could think of good things, being positive, all the good in your life. Do your gratitude exercises, all right? Whatever you got to do to think in this way. When you do, anxiety will melt and you'll become a different person, a person that brushes aside things that would have bothered you otherwise, because you're focused on all the good things in your life. This is a practice we can all adopt to banish anxiety from our lives. It's a good habit to develop. Thank you for watching this video. If this has been helpful, if you found it helpful, please subscribe to this channel. Get lots of positive stuff out there. The more you interact with my videos, the more we get positive content out into the world, and we can manifest lots of great things in the world. My name's Edgar Ortega, Handsome Blind Guy. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get updates when I upload a new video. And give this video a thumbs up and leave me any questions or comments in the comments section. Thank you again for watching, Handsome Blind Guy. I'm Edgar Ortega. I'll see you in another video, or rather, you'll see me. I'll talk to you then.